okay? So the engineer company that we had, even though it was been paid off, they don't want to have anything else to do with us based on the fact that they feel that they might not get payment. So if I understand you, we're looking for another engineer person and you have someone in mind. But still, that comes into the equation of the budget. So where do we put that?
Well, it'll probably, the expenditure itself will probably show up in central services and professional services. What Councilwoman is referring to is there are whole, as you know, there's all kinds of things that we're being required to do by the EPA.
Yeah.
And you know, part of it is working with the sewer district to try to make sure that we are in compliance with the EPA and all of that, you know, all of the stuff that they want us to do. And you know, we look to our engineering firm to provide that expertise to guide us through all of these steps. And for whatever reason, they don't seem to want to work with us. So we found another engineer who they know how to do all this. They do this for about 10 or 12 different cities here in the area. And they will, but they're going to, their fees are reimbursable. They've already called the sewer district, and their fees are reimbursable by the sewer district. So we will have to pay them, but the sewer district will reimburse us for their fees for doing that.
How? Why?
There's a surcharge. All communities that are members of the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, every resident pays, I think it's like $5 or $6 a month on your water bill or sewer bill, and it's for stormwater management, stormwater runoff. And so they have what was called, and they said this in one of the council meetings, they have what's called a community sharing program. And there's $60,000 that's been allocated in that pot for East Cleveland. So out of that $60,000 pot, the engineer's expenses for doing these kinds of things are eligible for us to get reimbursed out of that $60,000.
So having said all that, why is it that the engineer that we already have can't capitalize on the same sharing, storm sharing?
The way I understand it, now we get into rumor. The way I understand it, the current engineer wanted to get paid directly by the sewer district. And the sewer district said that's not how we operate.
So no reimbursement?
No, they don't, right. They didn't want to be
Reimbursed?
well, they wanted the sewer district to pay them directly,
Yeah.
not us.
I can understand that. That's still not a rumor.
Well,
The
we
fact
don't
is
have
that
to-
they don't trust us. That's it.
Why is that simple?
You know, that could change too. You never know with that. I mean, that money is earmarked. They may
So-
reconsider. But at any rate, that shouldn't impact the budget because that money's coming from the
Right,
fund.
well, right. I mean, we're gonna have to appropriate it, but also we can show it in our certificate of estimated resources.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. That's not gonna impact the budget.
Go ahead.
Workers' comp, we're paying in advance, is it because they changed the way they got the payments, or is it because we just made a reduced rate?
They did. Well, we'll get a small rebate for paying the whole thing in advance early, but they did. They revamped the system from a twice-a-year payment to now January 1, it goes to be monthly. And the first monthly payment for January is due at the end of December. And it's $12,000 a month. So, yeah, they did switch their payment plan too. We used to pay in May, 45% in May, and 55% in September. So now it's gone to where we used to pay behind. Now we're paying ahead of time.
Okay.
And they give you monthly payments rather than two semi-annual payments.
But we're looking at paying.
paying the whole thing.
Right. Now let's talk about the P and F.
Police and firemen's
Police and
pension.
firemen's pension.
Right. We have, when, you want to go back in history about accrued liability?
No, I
It's-
just,
We have accrued,
More
we have
understand
an
the
accrued
payment.
liability.
uh,
And I think our balances are somewhere around $700,000 or $800,000 a piece for police and for fire. And where this comes from is back in the 60s, when each community funded their own pension systems. You know, some communities funded their pension systems adequately, other communities didn't. But when the state took over, and now the state was running all the police and firemen's pension, they said that all of these pension plans were underfunded. So they assessed every community an accrued liability. That I think ours started out probably about $900,000 a piece for police and for fire. So it was like $1.82 million. All communities in Ohio were assessed these accrued liabilities. So some communities have even paid theirs off. You know, with us, we've struggled to just try to make the current payments. But that's what the accrued liability is. So, you know, we have an amortization schedule that shows what the payments are every year until they're paid off. Sometime in 2027 or something like that.
so that payment is due beginning of the month, end of the month? When is that payment due?
It's due, you know what, I don't know exactly what the due dates are for that. I think normally it's 2 payments,
Okay.
like in January and June.
Okay. So, that's good to know.
And that's completely separate from the current liability that's attached to payroll. You know, every time we pay a police officer or firefighter, you know, there's a pension obligation that goes along with their pay. That's completely separate. That's current pension.
Okay. So I got that. Now, and just so that everyone here knows, I actually met with the finance director earlier and actually had a conversation with the state auditors at the last fiscal commission meeting and went into great detail about the legacy communication contract and funding it. So what I'm going to ask for is that a line item be put in to this revised budget, $20,000 for legacy communication. Now, what we can do is put it in, and we'll wrestle with the state auditors before we sign the contract and spend a dime. But I want it put in here so that it's passed. If you remember, June is when we passed it. The state auditors came up. They had some apprehension. And I was told by the state auditors after the apprehension that we could revisit it in 6 months to see how monies would be coming in from the red light tickets and from other funds. So now